So, I'm back here. Welcome to my Voice is a Weapon podcast. Today, I will bring a subject that is something that I don't think a lot of people think about too much. At least, um, the conversations that I have with most people, this subject is never brought up and is um, the value of a person, and I don't mean the value of life itself or uh, the financial value of someone. What I mean is the value of a person in terms of how we look at someone, and instantly most people think about most important thing is to be nice, and I have a different way of a different perspective on that. Um, I think we often look at we give more value to someone who is nice than to someone who is actually good at what they do. They're actually competent at whatever it is that they have to do. And I say this because um, I think we're in a we it it's tricky to put value in someone. Just you know, it's easy to judge someone as something that they're not, just because they might not be the nicest person on earth. And I say this because I don't consider myself the nicest guy on earth. Far from it. I actually know that I can be when I know that I have the capability of being the biggest asshole in the room. Um, and I feel it's important to understand the value of someone um, a lot, and look at the characteristics that determined uh, what is the real value of that person. Because if we look at the person, we just judge, oh, what an asshole, what a fucking douchebag. It's very easy to avoid seeing the real transparency of the value of what the person brings to the table. And we need to understand that accountability is also in course. Um, we often forget, we seem to care too much about if the person is nice to us, and we often forget about our accountability, um, and we don't realize that sometimes we think that we are being nice, but we're not. So we need to also understand that. And I think it's a person has a lot more value in terms of their contributions to whatever field they work at, right? I'll give you an example, okay? And this is the first one because it's the one that I have closer to me. Um, my father. Okay, I was gonna give an example with my mother, but I rather not, for many reasons. My father. Um, Now, of course, I can't be very objective here because it is my father, so I will be, uh, you know, um, I will be biased in the description here, but I believe that my father is the absolute best artist, the best painter, the best designer in the world. Now, of course, it's very easy to me to just come on out here and say that because it's my father, but to prove to you that this isn't just me being biased, there is a little bit of objectivity there. If you ever had the opportunity to look at his work, it's tremendous. He draws like nobody else, right? Now, I'm not an expert in art. He's the one who knows everything about art because he actually studied it. He went to college, and that's what he's most good at. The biggest value that he has is his capability of bringing artistic revenue to the table. He has a very high artistic IQ, probably the highest I ever seen. Highest I've ever seen because it's not like he's the only artist I've met. Obviously, a bunch of his friends are in the same field as he is. So, when it comes to that part of, that sector, that field of work, of course I'm biased, but at the same time understand that I did take a look into the things that he did. And I'll give you another example. Okay, and this is someone who I don't have any personal attachment whatsoever. Yesterday I was talking about the UFC 260 event that took place where Francis Ngannou won the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, to show you that I don't have any personal attachment, I'm going to talk about Jon Jones again here as an example that I'm extracting from yesterday. Jon Jones may very well be an asshole outside of the contengibility of the UFC. The things he does outside are not very good. It doesn't put a sticker of a nice guy on his shirt. However, if you go back and watch him exclusively rating his work, what he does, he might very well be the best ever. The guy has a talent like no other. And if I have to bring another example, I could name Michael Jordan. I could name, I don't know, if we go to other fields like the music field, I could name a bunch of musicians, right, that are absolutely talented. I could name drummer Mike Portnoy. Mike Portnoy is perhaps the very best drummer in the modern era. For those that don't know, Portnoy is a former Dream Theater drummer. He used to play for them, and he also had a side project with a few other members of Dream Theater called Liquid Tension Experiment. And he's probably the best drummer in the modern era. He's not my favorite, though, okay? My favorite drummer, for obvious reasons, since it's perhaps my favorite band of all time, it's Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden. Now, of course, it's two completely different. They're both very talented, but if we have to analyze the musicianship, I think Mike Portnoy uses some techniques that I never seen Nico use. However, exceptional as he is, I never heard him play that way. So that's the Extraction. I'm telling you who is my favorite, and I'm telling you who I think may be the best. And that's the objectivity of the whole thing. I'm trying to not be biased. I have a favorite, but I understand that maybe there's people who are better than him. Doesn't take anything away from what he does. And that's the extrapolation of getting to judge someone and say, okay, this guy's just an asshole, fuck him. Let's not even look at his accomplishments. And there's a little bit of a failure to understand perhaps why his personality is the way it is. Because if we analyze things a little bit deeper and try to understand how things work, maybe because I said in past episodes that I do not like to attach my whole persona, my whole way of being, my personality to my ideology, because I think that it's dangerous if you do that. Now, at the same time, a lot of people do ingrain themselves with whatever field of work they do. So, if you're in a line of work that is very stressful, you're under high pressure all the time, maybe you externalize a bad behavior when you're outside of your line of duty, right? When you're off work, perhaps you show something that you're really not. Perhaps you show people that you are not very sympathetic and that you can be kind of a pain in the butt or pain in the back. But then again, people don't know the level of high pressure that you have to go through on a daily basis. So it's I hate this because it's a little bit too psychological, and I hate to have to enter this terrain, but it is a part of what we have to look at to understand what the whole person is. But it's very hard to understand what a whole person is, right? We can admire a bunch of people here. And as I said, look, Jordan, maybe the greatest athlete overall of all times. But Jordan wasn't a saint. He had some bad behavior off court, right? Some people said that he had the competitiveness to a level that nobody else had. He got angry about stuff that other people thought didn't matter, but for him it was important. And here's the grain. Here's where, for example, it's funny how you see in interviews Charles Barkley and him seem like close friends, right? Because they're friends. But at the same time, there's this. You can see the way Michael sometimes treated Barkley in front of the cameras, and it was like, holy shit, what an asshole, right? You look at the way Barkley was treated, and it's not like Barkley wasn't a bad basketball player. I mean, he made it to the NBA, he had a career, and he was at the time one of the best. He used to play against Jordan more often than not, and he was one of his rivals, and they had this relationship where they became friends off the court, but at the same time, the competitiveness, they're always bickering with each other. And in that, you can see that, of course, because of Jordan was who he was, he achieved more than Barkley did. Now, that doesn't mean that it cuts Barkley short of being an amazing athlete. It just means that Jordan was that much better. Now, does that give Jordan the right to belittle Barkley the way that he did sometimes? I don't know. But who am I to say? Right? Because Barkley, it's not a saint either. He actually provoked that behavior out of Jordan a lot of times. A lot of the times, in and off the court, Barkley used to pinch Jordan, right? He used to do little things that made Jordan mad, especially in court when they used to play against each other. And you don't need to watch every single game from, back then. You can see just in the highlights. You see the way that they confronted each other time and time again. And it's an example of how we behave, but behavior has nothing to do with who you are. Behavior is just something that happens at one moment. That's why, for me, it's very dangerous to come up with those categories and call someone and those labels. Nice guy, asshole, piece of shit. It doesn't embark into understanding what that person does. Police officers. That's another example. We can see sometimes we don't respect them enough for the duty that they do. And I understand there's a lot of cops that are bad cops, corrupted, and they can misbehave and do things that are wrong. But for all of those cops, there's a number of them that are good cops that put their lives on the line for our security every single day. They're the ones that take the risk, of going after the bad people, the real bad people. So, a behavior that has an attachment to a description or to an adjective doesn't actually describe who that person really is. It's very easy to, and I'm saying this because I'm the first one that actually make that mistake. If I see someone that acts a certain way that I don't like, I'm the first one to go, what an asshole, what a piece of shit, because I have that temper. I know that. I'm easy to get in a, well, maybe now I improved a lot, but when I was younger, I had a very bad temper. It was very easy for me to see anyone who had some sort of little clique that I didn't like to go, what a piece of shit, And I'm sitting here contemplating that behavior on my part. And I'm looking at myself now and thinking, what a piece of shit I was at the time. Because what qualifies me to actually come up with that line of thought that just because somebody does something that I don't like, automatically that person is, and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of misconceptions that we give people because we don't take the time to actually understand who that person is. But there's also a counterfact here that disputes why we do that. We do that because inherently we have this antisocial kind of, it's instinctual. We have that antisocial thing inside of us. We are very complex. We are very complex animals. Human beings are very complex to the point where we force ourselves to be sociable, but we're not sociable naturally. I know that there's a lot of science studies that say that we are, but there's a few that say that we're not. And what I'm trying to say here is I tend to go on understand, because I understand that side better. I think we are not fully naturally social, right? And we are perhaps the most artificial beings in the whole planet. That's something that we need to look at as well. We need to understand everything we do is almost artificial. All of our behaviors are artificial. The things we eat today, manufactured, artificial garbage, right? Almost everything we eat today is not very healthy for a bunch of reasons. And we behave in an artificial way as well. We force ourselves to behave in a way that is completely... if we acted solely upon our natural instincts, none of the things that we see today will exist. We would still be cavemen. And perhaps that's the complexity. That's the part that makes us a little bit different from every other species. Because as I mentioned a few times, I think it's very arrogant on our part to think that we are more intelligent than other species, because I don't think we are. But I think that we do have big differences in the way that we live life. And that's why I say everything we do is completely artificial. And we view ourselves and we act in ways that we think are natural, but they're really not. They're really not. The way we've built societies, the way they are today, that's not natural. You don't see any other species live the way that we live, right? Because there are a few species that do live in big societies like us, like ants, bees, right? They do live by large numbers together in a... they have their own colonies and stuff. But the biggest difference might be that They don't need to. They don't need money. They don't have. They don't use electricity. They don't have technology. What I'm doing right now, a podcast. They don't do that. Their way of communicating with each other is completely instinctual. It's completely natural, and it's different from anything we do. Even our way of communicating is artificial, because now we use cell phones, we use internet, Skype, email, right? We communicate through video, right? There's video conferences, and we're less and less in touch with reality. We're less and less in touch with real people. And the transcendence of the way we attach our behavior, and we judge someone upon a behavior that took place and it happened in maybe less than a minute, and immediately it goes off our little bulb in our heads and we go, what an asshole. What a piece of garbage that person is. What a bad apple. And it limits us to the point where we're in this little box that we're pressing a little button and deciding who is nice and who is not according to what happened in 1 second, which is completely absurd to begin with. It's completely absurd. And it's one of the reasons why there's so much bickering and it's one of the reasons why we try to police each other on the internet so much now. Social media is so crazy because we have this tendency of wanting to control each other. We're always crying and complaining about democracy, if this democracy works or not, if it is democratic enough, if we're free enough. But at the same time, when it comes to allowing ourselves to be really free, we want to control each other as well. We're controlling each other all the time. All the time. It happens on a daily basis. There's always someone trying to police you from doing this or that because they consider it's not a good behavior. And that's the crazy part. We always complain about wanting to be free. But we're selfish because we want individual freedom. I want my freedom. I don't care. I can't care less about yours. I don't give a shit. And that's the instinct kicking in. That's the natural part kicking in. It's insane that we have those little things. And it kicks in. And we get bothered because somebody else is doing something that we don't approve of. Who the hell am I to go tell my brother not to smoke pot just because he likes it, he feels good with it? Who the hell is he to tell me not to drink beer? I'm just trying to put this in context so everybody understands. Being nice doesn't mean shit. There's a lot of nice people that are very incompetent. Very. You can be the nicest guy on earth, but if you are not good at anything, You're fucking useless. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. We need to understand that this little policing that we do with each other doesn't make any sense, doesn't leave us, it doesn't get us anywhere. Because instead of what's going on today, a lot of it is we should be able to actually have a dialogue with each other, even if we disagree with each other. Let's put it like this. I'm okay having a conversation with anyone, even if I personally think that that person might be the most idiotic person just because I might not agree with them, but I'm okay allowing them to talk to me and have a dialogue and say their piece. I'm okay with that. I might not agree with it. I might not like where they're coming from, but I allow the person to say their piece. Because one of the things that I understand is everyone has the right to speak their mind. As I am right now. And this platform, you allow me to use this platform to say what I want. So I'm the last person who should complain about freedom because I'm completely free here. I say whatever I want and nobody is bothering me about anything. But of course, objectively, I can come up with a complaint about freedom in a general sense because of things that I see that happen to other people. And I can say, this is absurd. Right? If we analyze, Steve Crowder, he's a big YouTube personality. The guy has his YouTube channel, and recently he got completely blocked by Google. So I'm not gonna come with all the reasons because I don't know exactly what happened. What I know is they blocked him. They are not allowing him to use his main channel. So what he did was he used another channel to come and explain what happened. YouTube blocked that content as well. They blocked that video as well, disallowing him to come up. And the truth is that what is wrong about this is they're just censoring him because they don't like who he is. Right? They have to shut him up because they don't agree with his mentality. They want to raise him. Now, even in the right policy, that the policies that they have on YouTube, they're not supposed to do that. They can't. They shouldn't be allowed to do that because it says there that if one channel if you're someone who has multiple channels and one of your channels get blocked or let's say they take away your content or whatever, you have the right to upload some other form of content in other channels. You have the right to do that, and they can't take it away. Yet Google decided to block him off the platform completely. They're doing to Steve Crowder what they did to Alex Jones. They deplatformed Steve Crowder out of Google and YouTube, which is completely absurd. Now that's the context. This is one example that I use to for us to better understand the value of a person. It's not just about the financial part or the value of life itself. It's the value of a person, what the person does to contribute to this crazy society of ours. And maybe we should think about, perhaps we shouldn't be part of societies at all. We should be each individual by ourselves and have our own space. Maybe that way we would communicate with each other in a much healthier way. At least I think so. And hey, I'm not saying that's the only way. I'm saying that's what I think. I might be wrong here, but that's what I think. And there's very different ways. There are different spectrums to analyze the whole picture of how human beings behave with each other and how they behave in their surroundings, with other species, with the environment. Because collectively, and this is something that I'm saying because I'm very certain, because of the actions of big groups of people, collectively, we're a big bunch of pieces of shit. We're all assholes. Look at what we do with our own environment. We destroy it because we think we're better. Because we're entitled. We're entitled, selfish species. And that's the point that I'm trying to bring here. I understand if people don't agree with me, that's fine. Because there's also this, I know, I saw people behave like this. Some people that try to be nice all the time, and avoid negativity, and try to be positive, and you know those people that no matter what you do to them, they're gonna think you're nice either way. That's so stupid. That's so stupid. Because what you're doing is you're trying to create a shield, right? In order for you to be shielded from bad stuff happening, because you're afraid of confrontation to the point that you have to act nice all the time. Now, people like that, often happens is they go out to the big bad world, and they find people who don't like them, and those people will be confrontational. And these people, what they do is they say, "Oh no, that's okay, you're nice either way, I'm okay with that." And then they go home, and you know what happens? They're fucking depressed. They're sad. They feel terrible. You know why? Because instead of standing up for themselves, they allow everybody else to bully them. And that's part of the issue here. The reason bullying exists is because there are some people who don't act against it. They allow that shit to happen. And those people are extremely weak. You can see it. And now there's this other group of people that want to be protective of those, which makes them even a bigger shield for that behavior to actually stay with them. That's not helping. You're not helping that person by just constantly wanting to defend them. They have to be able to defend themselves sometimes. Now, I'm not saying that we should be going out of our way to be cruel to each other. But sometimes confrontations happen and we have to be able to fight back. We can't just sit in the corner and allow people to treat us like shit. I can assure you, I never allowed that to happen to me. And, you know, we often are coursed by that behavior of all of a sudden acting upon that and say, oh, what a pussy, right? But that doesn't help either. Calling someone who's already in a delicate state a pussy pushes them further down the hole. And they use depression and suicidal acts out of desperation because they have nothing else to grab themselves with. That's why I think it's very important for us to analyze the real value of someone. You know, who is that person that I just said is a fucking asshole? A lawyer? A school teacher? A police officer? A judge? A mayor? The president? So that's why we sometimes, and that's something else as well, but with public figures, we do that all the time. Actors, musicians, nowadays YouTubers, politicians, all sorts of public figures, we tend to just watch them for 3 minutes on TV in an interview, and immediately we go, what a piece of shit. Trump. First thing people think of when Trump is on TV, asshole, you Nazi, you racist. We need to calm down. We need to calm down and analyze our own behavior and start looking in the mirror a little bit. Put a little bit of a lot of this is because the value of respect also went away. It disappeared at some point. There's no respect anymore. Sometimes it looks like someone has been respectful, but are they really? Are they really? I don't know. I try to be respectful most times. I often fail because I'm a human being and I make mistakes. What can I do? I could sit here and torture myself for it because I fucking hate the fact that I'm not perfect. But hey, it's not a solution. It's not going to help me. So, I think it's something to think about and have a little bit of self-introspect to understand who really is the asshole. because I know I'm the biggest one in the room. With that, I'm patching things up, and I will see you all next time. I don't know if I'm coming back tomorrow, maybe after tomorrow. That's why. I'll see you next time. Please follow the podcast. And as usual, thank you all very much for those that are already part of the audience. Thank you, and have a good one.